Mike McDaniel got his guy. It is official. Our Miami Dolphins now have a new defensive coordinator. Earlier today, announced the signing of the coveted one, Vic Fangio, as the team's next defensive coordinator, obviously filling the role that was left vacant after they fired Josh Boyer shortly after that wild card loss in the playoffs to the Buffalo Bills. And why I say Mike McDaniel got his guy, this is who he wanted. The hot rumor last year was that if he could have handpicked the defensive coordinator to lead this unit, it was Fangs. It was Vic Fangio. And obviously, a lot of pressure on him. You'll hear a lot of stories about how Boyer was one of the Flores era holdovers that was kind of forced on him, kind of part of the deal. Well, obviously, after things played out, there was a lot of things going on with the defense in 2022, a lot of injuries. But with how things ended up playing out, you knew it was just a matter of time before Mike McDaniel was going to end up eventually getting his own guy to lead that defense, essentially be the head coach of a defense. And that's what you get out of Fangio, a 64-year-old defensive coordinator with loads, and I mean loads of experience on the defensive side of the ball, which we'll get to. But like I said, the writing was kind of on the wall. We were an opportunistic defense the first couple of years of Boyer's tenure with the Dolphins, getting turnovers left and right. Last year, second fewest turnovers forced in the entire league. And then we ended up giving up the ninth most points per game in 2022 as well. So like I said, the writing was on the wall, but enter Vic Fangio. Hopefully our savior get things right on that side of the ball, because we saw the Dolphins offense take a huge step forward in 2022. So now this is kind of that window. This is that window to compete. Like I said, get a leader that can focus on the defensive side of the ball, make that his unit, and then let Mike McDaniel handle the big picture. Let him handle the offense. And like I said, Fangio, he's 64, but there's really, I've got an interesting take on that. I don't think that's a bad thing, his age. A lot of people are like, well, he's old, he's not going to be here very long. Well, here's the deal. He's probably not going anywhere since he is 64. And since he has had a rough history as an actual head coach in the league, defensive coordinator is likely where a guy like Fangio maxes out. He's not likely going to leave anywhere. Like, he's going to be able to be the defensive coordinator in Miami as long as he's doing a good job, likely as long as he wants, compared to a guy like Sean Desai, who also got interviewed for the defensive coordinator position. There's a chance that if Desai were to come in, or if wherever he ends up as a defensive coordinator, if he blows the doors off in year one, there's a chance he's only a 1 or 2 year option the way it is. So I know a lot of people like Desai. I like Desai as well. But there's a better chance that Desai leaves after a couple of years than Fangio leaving after a couple of years. So I don't really think that the age is an issue in this situation. Obviously, Fangs, most recently a defensive consultant with the Philadelphia Eagles. Prior to that, head coaching stint with the Denver Broncos. I talked about that experience, though. He's got more than 20 years of experience as a defensive coordinator between his time in the NFL and in college. I talked about the Eagles, talked about the Broncos. He's worked with the Bears, the 49ers, the Texans, the Colts, and Stanford University in college as well. And now what do we get? Reunited, and it feels so good. Him and Bradley Chubb, who was huge, part of Bradley Chubb's developmental stages in the league. Fangs is Vic Fangio. So obviously their time together in Denver is going to be huge. Get them reunited. But guess who else now he gets to work his scheme with and build around? Loads of talent on this side of the ball. This was a very, very, let's just say that people wanted this job. I really think that Fangs had options. Obviously, we know that with the amount of teams that showed interest with him. But look at the people you get to work with. Jalen Phillips, Zach Sealer, Christian Wilkins, Xavier Howard, Javon Holland, Byron Jones. The list goes on and on. And who knows? You know what I'm excited about? Maybe. Just maybe he gets his hands on Channing Tindall, sees all that potential, finds a way to get him on the field and untap that potential. Turn that guy loose, because we know how athletic he is. We know that he's got it. We just got to get him right mentally. But if Fangs can get him right, and if he can get him on the field and be a contributor in year two, that's already a plus. But you know the guy I'm actually looking forward to Fangio working with the most? Javon Holland. Because we as Dolphins fans know we got a stud there. And we know that he was playing a bit out of position this last year, so his stats weren't booming per se, but we know that this guy has flashed. He's already been one of the most consistent defenders we have, plays the run well, plays the pass well. And guess who Fangio got to work with during his time with the Denver Broncos? Justin Simmons. I absolutely love Justin Simmons. I was hoping that the Broncos wouldn't be able to re-sign him so that the Dolphins could have got him. I think that was like 2 off seasons ago now. But he's helped turn Justin Simmons into one of the best safeties in the league. So I'm pumped for Fangio to get his hands on these guys, to get his hands on Tyndall, on Holland, try to really, really untap this defense's full potential. Because like I said, that window, that opportunity to compete, we're in it. We are in it. And I want to finish up the Fangio talk talking about some of the more obvious differences that we'll see now in the defense in 2023 compared to what we saw previous years in 2022, especially with Josh Boyer, but the couple of years before that as well. You know as well as I do. What did Josh Boyer do? What was his calling card? Send everybody. Zero blitz. He was a blitzing machine during his time with the Dolphins, especially the last 2 years. Josh Boyer, what? One of the league's highest blitz percentages on a per play basis. The Miami Dolphins were under Josh Boyer. That's not Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio, if you go back and look at where he ranks in blitz percentages per play, he's been like bottom 10 of the league his entire career when he's been the one in charge of a defense. So we're going to be seeing a lot more attempts of getting home with 4, especially in comparison to what we've seen the last couple of years. And one of the ways that Fangio does this, it's great. The guy is a master of disguise. That's a big part of his defense. He disguises his plays. And the way he does this, it's a lot of pre-snap movement. So the quarterbacks can't quite tell what's going on. So it's a lot of guys moving around pre-snap in the secondary and everything. And then as soon as the snap happens, there's a lot of post-snap movement. So in an attempt to disguise what coverage you were in, confuse those quarterbacks, and make the quarterback think one thing when you're actually in another, which leads to a couple of things. It leads to rush decisions, poor decisions, which leads to turnovers, or if the quarterback is confused and has to hold on to the ball that extra 1, 2, 3 seconds, gives more time for those front 4 to actually get home, and that way you're getting home with 4. So you're going to see a lot of that, and you're also going to hear throughout the offseason, you're going to hear it throughout. His calling card is kind of that too high safety look and a lot more zone coverage than what we're used to, because we're used to Josh Boyer playing a lot of one high safety look, bringing the safety into the box to help out there, and then also a lot of man coverage. So there's going to be some changes. And now we'll have to see what kind of personnel he wants. Does he want to bring in another safety? Is he going to add another edge rusher for depth? What do we do at linebacker? And those are all questions that we'll get to dive into more, obviously, throughout the offseason here. But I'm pumped. You should be pumped. We were kind of in a win-win situation. Like I said, this was a very attractive position, and we got arguably the best defensive coordinator that was available, or that's going to be available this offseason. So get your celebratory beers, Dolphins fans. I'm going to go have one right after this. But that is my time for today, Dolphins fans. And until next time, Fins